This is Turner Sports.
Are we ready to play?
We're down to the Final Four, so the chance for the national championship.
This will be a great night of basketball. Who wants to continue dancing?
The most fun thing about being in a Final Four is winning.
Kansas is still dancing.
We want more. We just don't want to be happy to be here. And these guys believe.
The dream is alive!
We go after every team just like they're coming after us.
We would die for each other on the court, do anything for each other.
This kid is unbelievable.
I'll do what it takes.
Welcome to San Antonio, Texas. The Alamo City is commemorating its tricentennial this year. What better way to celebrate than by hosting one of the best weekends in American sports? The road ends here at the Alamo Dome, where the 2018 NCAA Men's Basketball Final Four returns today for the fourth time and for the first time in 10 years.
Headed to San Antonio. Wolverines to the Final Four.
Kansas is still dancing.
It's another supernova run to the Final Four.
Just a bit over 3 hours from now, upset-minded Loyola Chicago and Michigan will tip off in Game 1 of our doubleheader tonight. That's followed by Villanova and Kansas, which last won it all on this very floor in 2008. Every big dance needs great music, and the crowds will be entertained by some of the biggest musical acts playing on the concert stage in downtown. Speaking of downtown, that's where we are, in the heart of the scenic Riverwalk, frequently referred to as the American Venice. College basketball fans from around the country have made their way here for the Final Four. Hello, everyone. I'm Greg Gumbo. Welcome to At the Final Four, presented by Infiniti. It's been an incredible March Madness run to this point, and the magical ride will continue tonight with the tournament's Cinderella story. Number 11 seed Loyola Chicago takes on 3rd seed Michigan in the first national semifinal. That's followed by a battle among number 1 seeds, Kansas and Villanova. Now, I am absolutely surrounded by greatness. At least that's what they told me that I had to say about them. Champions, every one of them. 6 national titles among them. Candace Parker, a 2-time NCAA champion with Tennessee under legendary head coach Pat Summitt. Christian Laettner won back-to-back titles while at Duke University and is the NCAA tournament's all-time leading scorer. Can you believe it's been 30 years since Danny Manning led underdog Kansas to the national crown? And who can forget, because he won't let you forget, Chris Jenkins' buzzer-beating 3-point shot that won it all for Villanova just 2 years ago. So you've all been on this huge stage, and look at the things that our guests have accomplished here. Christian Laettner, 23 tournament games. Danny and Candace, 16 each, and Chris with 12. Chris, you've only been gone a couple of years. I'm sure it's vivid in your memory.
Yeah, you know, I remember it like it was yesterday, just being out there with those guys, and for them to get back to this point, you know, it brings back a lot of great memories, and I'm looking forward to see how they go out there and compete and play Villanova basketball against a great Kansas.
I know there are a lot of people who remember that night. Did you remember your night?
That was a fun night. That was a fun night. You know, the thing that gets lost on you is you forget about all the things that go around with the Final Four. All the
Must be, if Chris Jenkins, it's nice to have an uncontested jump shot when it counts.
Yeah, I kind of walked right into that one, just like back in the playground when I was young with me and my brother. You know, thank goodness he wasn't on the court, because he would have denied me. So he let me know that right after the game.
You know, look at the effect that you had on Charles Barkley, who was watching it at the time. Not that it's hard to get Chuck to dance.
Oh man, that's awesome right there. That's one of my favorite players of all time. So to see him react like that, it means a lot to me.
Well, you know, it was personal with him too, because he was there with Kenny Smith, and Kenny Smith was on the short end. Now here is Mr. Manning, who had himself just an unbelievable night, and Kansas had itself an unbelievable night.
That was a lot of fun. You know, we played hard, we played together, and we're very fortunate to come out on the winning end. Had a great coach and Larry Brown, and it was just a great moment for us.
What were your feelings as you approached that game? You know, you guys were the underdog.
Yes, we were. And, you know, for us, we're just trying to stay focused. You know, there's so much energy and excitement around the Final Four. And, you know, making sure that you're on point with your game plan and your preparation is something that's very important.
You always feel like you're going to accomplish something when you go out there, but sometimes it doesn't work out that way.
That's true. That is true. You know, you have an opponent, and they're doing the same thing, and you have to go out there and find a way to make it happen for the duration of the ball game.
You ever watch Candace Parker play ball?
Absolutely.
You know, one of the things that we talked about throughout this tournament was your championship resume. How often do you get to think about it?
Well, I think about it a lot. It's very sentimental now, you know, especially it being Coach Summit's last championship. Mm-hmm. And, you know, when you're going through it, you're in the moment, and then now I'm able to kind of look back and reflect and realize, like, man, that was really special. Those were some of the best years of my life.
Meanwhile, the guy on the far end here is a favorite at Duke, and not so much a favorite at Kentucky, and not so much a favorite at North Carolina. Christian Laettner, glad to have you around again, and especially in this area where NCAA tournament play is so big.
Well, thank you. You know, when I was a senior in high school, I was watching Danny Manning play, and just cemented my love for college basketball in the Final Four even more. And I knew I wanted to go to Duke because it seemed like Duke had the best chance to get there. They hadn't quite won it all yet. And then I was just surrounded by a great team and a great coach for 4 years, and we went to a lot of games and a lot of Final Fours, and I loved every second of it.
There was a lot expected of you guys, and I'm not sure that was the case in everybody's, but you were expected to win.
Well, I don't know if we were expected to win, but we expected ourselves to do real well. And that's the toughest pressure of all, is the pressure you put on yourselves, the pressure your coaches put on you, and we wanted to win. We wanted to get there for us.
How happy are you for your friend and our colleague Grant Hill, who has been named to the Basketball Hall of Fame and was the instigator of that great play back in the day during the playoffs?
Yeah, he and I have some good memories together, and you know, I'm so happy for him and very proud of him. And I was part of his career at Duke and part of his career at the NBA, and it's memories that I'll never forget.
You know, every time I see that shot that you make, I wonder how many times had you taken that shot in your collegiate career?
How many times did I do that shot before that shot?
Yeah.
Maybe only a few times in practice.
Just a few, right?
Just a few.
I'm sorry, do you buy that for a minute?
No, I think he practiced that a few more times than a few. That looked too clean, too smooth.
When players come to this part of the tournament, if you get this far, we like to talk about pressure. But does it get a little easier for the players as things go along because you're feeling better about yourself and your accomplishments as a team?
Well, I think it absolutely does. I think you get lost in the moment. I think you might have those jitters in the locker room listening to the coach talk, but once you hit that floor and you get a chance to have an impact, whether it's offensively or defensively, those jitters go away and you just try to do what you guys have done all year long.
Well, going to the Final Four, there's other distractions. You know, obviously everybody's family's flying in. You have, you know, your friend, your homeboy that you haven't talked to in 4 years hitting you up for tickets. So I think it's just about, you know, staying in the moment, remembering what got you there. That circle, that team has to get even tighter during the Final Four, and then you just get on the floor and forget everything.
Are you having fun?
Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun, but, you know, Coach Wright did a great job of keeping us in reality, and we had this room where we watched film and we did everything as a team, and we called this our reality room. So when we step into this room, we're real with ourselves, and, you know, we're down to business. So I remember that like it was yesterday.
Christian, I wonder often if the pressure, you know, when a team doesn't perform as well as if it's expected, is it fair to say it's the pressure that's contributing to it?
Well, usually it's the other team, but you know, we had a lot of pressure on us. Coach K had gotten to like 4 or 5 Final Fours before they won, you know, so it was getting so bad where they started calling it a monkey on his back, you know what I mean? So we really wanted to end that for him, so we put the most pressure on ourselves and the coaches on us, and the coaches wouldn't let us lose focus and don't get involved in the Final Four too much as a fan, or, you know, we keep losing and we don't want to do that anymore. So we even focused a little more because we were starting to get that reputation of not being able to win the big one, you know what I mean? And we wanted to end that.
I sometimes wonder if a coach, because of the quote-unquote pressure, sometimes takes his or her foot off the pedal just a little bit to ease that pressure.
Coach Summit was great at balance. I think that's the key. You know, you do all this preparation going in, and then you just have to trust. You have to trust all the practices you've had. You have to trust all the film sessions and different things like that to get you to that point.
I know we'll talk a little bit about the teams more in depth as we go along, but a team like Loyola Chicago, which the university hasn't been here in so long a time, do you think that maybe they're feeling a little better about everything because they're not even supposed to be here?
Well, first I want to say I've seen a lot of Chicagoans here, being from Chicago myself, and I hear, you know, you're my favorite Chicagoan that I've seen here because Loyola Chicago beat my Tennessee Volunteers. So, no, but every round it's been like Loyola, this is where it stops. You know, this is where it stopped. This is where it's going to stop. And this is where their luck's going to run out. Yeah. And it hasn't. And this team is playing with a lot of passion, a lot of confidence, and they deserve to be at the Final Four.
Do I remember you being in a little bit of agony when you were watching?
I don't remember what you're talking about. Oh, you're going to laugh? That's what we're doing?
I kind of think that you had your problems in watching the game develop. Take a look.
Yeah, Sister Jean got me.
Oh, she's into it, too. Look at her.
Yeah, I thought we won. That was when Grant Williams hit the shot, and then that was when Custer hit the other shot.
Yeah, you had absolutely no reaction whatsoever, I can tell.
I mean, I wore an orange suit. That's not my normal attire. I bleed orange, so, but I'm happy for Loyola University.
Yeah. No, it looked like it was, even in defeat, you were having a good time in the studio, and we're proud of you for keeping your chin up.
Thank you so much.
And what we didn't see is you going around bashing everybody with a stick. We are off to a wonderful start from here at the Riverwalk. We have plenty more still to come. We'll take an in-depth look at the East Regional Champions, Villanova, coming up after this. Chris Jacobs is all excited.
The Final Four, presented by Infiniti, is sponsored by Infiniti. Empower the drive.
In 1988, Danny Manning delivered the 6th-seeded Kansas Jayhawks their second national championship in school history.
Inside to Manning, unstoppable there.
Scoring 31 points and grabbing 18 rebounds.
Monster rebound.
In the title game against Big 8 rival Oklahoma.
Manning throws in a jump hook for the lead. The Kansas Jayhawks have beaten Illinois. They have lost more games than any champion in the history of the NCAA.
Manning finished as the tournament's top scorer and top rebounder. And after the Jayhawks became champions, they were dubbed Danny and the Miracles.
Our friend Danny Manning insists that we run that clip every 5 minutes. It's time now for Infiniti's Hardwood Heroes.
Top Cinderella Stories, 1983 NC State, 2011 Butler.
What's a Cinderella story?
2013, diagnosed chronic myeloid leukemia. 5 hours later, started chemo. June 2015, remission.
I'm a Cinderella story.
1 dog, 2 kids, and a trampoline. Who doesn't like a trampoline?
Take a time out to fight cancer. Play the Infiniti round-by-round bracket.
That was Infiniti's Hardwood Heroes. Now, Jay Wright has steered Villanova to its 4th straight 30-win season and its 2nd Final Four in 3 years with only 1 senior on the squad. As the Wildcats prepare for Kansas, Coach Wright will be relying on his junior captains, Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, and Phil Booth, who all helped Villanova win the national championship in 2016.
This is our 3rd time, even though Villanova's been there 6 times. But if you really look at what's the best part of it, it's going to practice and knowing that there's only 3 other teams practicing, and that you just love being together.
I'm going to get y'all a tattoo. I'm going to get Villanova a tattoo, though. They go to the championship. I got to get y'all, too.
It's definitely just important just to make sure we're doing what we do. Not really, going off track just because of the NCAA tournament. We got to make sure our bodies are fresh and going to tough battles against great teams, and we got to make sure we're ready every game.
You're just so anxious to play now. I think just ready to get to San Antonio and play. I think we're happy where we're at. I can feel within the team. It's a good feeling to still be alive at this point.
It's such a unique feeling in sports to be going to this great event that, next to the Super Bowl, I think is the best sporting event in the country, and you're in it. You just feel so blessed, and I think our players really feel the same way.
As a kid, man, you see the Final Four on TV all the time, and to be here my first year playing is a blessing.
You're kind of in awe when you first walk in because you don't know what to expect. Us freshmen, Jalen, Phil, Mikal, they've been here before, so they know what it's like. They know the distractions, everything that comes with the Final Four. So they're just telling us to stay locked in, do what we do, and remain humble.
It's my honor to announce this year's AP Men's College Basketball Player of the Year, Jalen Brunson.
It's really humbling, and it's something that we can't really put into words, and I'm going to cherish forever. But as of right now, it's the last thing on my mind. I'm really focused on this great Kansas team. They're well coached, and that's really all I care about right
now. Pretty good numbers for Villanova. 134 wins over a 4-year span, just one ahead of Duke and a couple ahead of Gonzaga, Kansas. I'm telling you, that's quite a legacy. Chris Jenkins, you are only 2 years removed from the Villanova program, but I know that you still have some people there. Is this a better team than the one you played with?
I wouldn't say better because, we taught those guys a lot of things that we've learned from the older guys that we played with. So, I believe that, they have all the tools. They've been here before, like they said in the video. Mikel's been here, Phil's been here, and Jalen's been here. So I expect them to go out and take care of business.
Yeah, and who's your best friend on the team?
My best friend on the team, I love them all. But my guy is Phil Booth. We grew up together. We grew up close to each other. So, big game Boofy, he stepped up big for us, in 2016, 20 points in the national championship. Nobody expected it but us. And he has a lot of game, and I think he's going to have a big Final Four showing here.
Somehow they have a touch. Hey, look at the Philadelphia 76ers tweeting out, good luck to Villanova and the men's basketball team. What do you guys think? You feel that this team is the equal of the one that won 2 years ago?
I think there's some similarities. I think you look at the versatility and the skill set of the guys that they put out there on the floor. They can create off the bounce. They can switch defensively, and they present a lot of problems for you, being disruptive offensively and defensively.
Yeah, there's a brotherhood that develops on a basketball team, especially that's had its winning attitude and winning ways that probably outsiders don't comprehend.
Well, some of the Villanova players said that the thing they enjoy the most is getting real close to each other and becoming even more of a family at the Final Four because there's so many distractions. And I know at Duke we really, really emphasize that. It's too easy to get distracted here. It's too easy to get caught up in the moment. And our coaches did a good job at keeping us focused and kind of forcing us to stay in the hotel and watch more video and study the other team a little more because I've been coming to the Final Four for 15 years as a fan now, and it's better as a fan. As a player, you're too focused, too dialed in, you don't really enjoy anything.
Yeah. Who else on this team should we talk about that's important to Villanova?
I think Spellman. Having an ability to have your 5-man also step out and shoot threes. This is a guy that can put the ball on the floor, get to the rack. He shoots the 3-ball, which stretches the defense even more. He's capable of running the floor. Defensively, he blocks shots with his activity, and I think he's the key to this Villanova team. If he's got it going, as he did in the last couple games, they're going to be really tough to beat.
Yeah, I know we can't ignore Jalen Brunson, who Player of the Year and runs the offense.
Yeah, you know, Jalen's a great player. I think he's the best player in the country, and I think he relies a lot on his teammates, and his teammates rely on him a lot too. You know, he makes a lot of plays. He brings that toughness, and he has a lot of skill out there. So everybody knows what Jalen brings. Jalen knows what to do. He's been here before, and we expect him to go out and take care of business.
So Villanova will be taking on Kansas. I wonder who we can ask about Kansas.
I don't know. The Jayhawks, they're a team that they play exceptionally well. Coach Self has been able to get these guys to year in and year out. There's a consecutive streak of conference championships that's very impressive. And this year is probably, in my estimation, the best coaching job by far. He's had some different pieces, and he's still figured out a way for those guys to go out there, play hard, play together, sacrifice for one another, and come out on top.
And who makes the Jayhawks go on the floor?
To me, it's Devontae Graham. He's been someone that's he stepped in and played each year that he's been there, graduated into a bigger role each year, and this year he's a guy. He makes them go. He sets the tone for him, and he's playing so well. He plays with great pace and great understanding.
Christian, Bill Self said earlier this week that these two teams are a lot alike. You agree with that?
They are. They're both really, really good, and they both got great point guards. I love Brunson because people are finally starting to say, you know, old school game, and I agree with it. I love that he slows down a little bit, even though he's a point guard, and point guards are known for going really fast, much faster than me and Danny. I like Brunson because he slows down a little bit, and he's not wild out there. And then Graham, the thing with Graham for Kansas is he just seems to hit a big shot when they need it. If they're down 5, he'll hit a three-pointer and bring them back. So he hits big shots for Kansas.
Yeah, Candace, who else do we like on Kansas?
Well, Kansas, you know, piggybacking off what Danny said, you know, Devontae Graham is the center of that team, but what makes his job easier is when Newman is on. And Newman has had a phenomenal NCAA tournament. Last game against Duke, obviously scoring all 13 overtime points, just coming up big, hitting shot after shot, and he's the key. They're trying to stop him defensively. Mikhailuk hitting big shots, so I think that's what opens it up for Devontae Graham to do what he does, is when his shooters are on.
All right, we'll take a moment here to remind you, watch live games on your computer, your phone, your tablet, or streaming device with NCAA March Madness Live. Watch now at ncaa.com/March Madness or download the app today. At the Final Four, presented by Infiniti, continues in a minute.
Watch out, Jayhawk. Big day for my guys. Let's go get it, Jayhawks. And Mario Chalmers hit the big shot 10 years ago. Send us into overtime.
Don't hold back.
Oh, that was a big shot for us.
Man, it's been 10 years.
Wow.
Wow.
Woo.
In 1963, Mississippi Governor Ross Barnett instituted a ban for any state school to compete in a tournament that allowed African Americans to compete. At the time, Loyola Chicago featured 4 African American starters. As a result, the Mississippi team snuck out of the state to play the game of change. Loyola went on to win that historic game and eventually win the national championship that year over Cincinnati, who also started 3 African Americans.
A historic win for Loyola University of Chicago in more ways than one. The Ramblers are back in the Final Four for the second time, where they'll be facing Michigan. Our confidential cameras were with the Wolverines as they prepared for their first Final Four since 2013. After being considered a conference underdog to Purdue and Michigan State, the Wolverines went on a tear, marching through the Big Ten tournament and winning 13 straight. Now, they're out to prove they belong right where they are.
What's up, Ann Arbor? How cool is this, huh? Michigan, as a 3 seed in the NCAA tournament, is the champion of the West region. They're moving on to San Antonio, Texas in the Final Four. Now, listen, not many outside the Michigan basketball locker room would have predicted this. And now they're focused in on their second ever national championship.
Going to the Final Four is so important to these guys. This is a dream come true for everybody, that they're able to really go there and be on at the biggest stage 60 to 70,000 people. It's a wonderful thing that I'm glad they're getting to be a part of.
Really go lighter on Friday than we've ever gone before on a Friday. I want to just get that so that we're on it, but we're not wearing the kids out on that day.
I mean, we kind of used to being underrated. At the end of the day, if you win games, they're going to accept that you were underrated. We just try to improve every day, whether we lose or win, whether we're in the top 25, it doesn't matter, you know? Like, people look at us now, it doesn't matter. It matters in March.
Get this done. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. How are we going to practice? How are we going to practice? Let's go. 20 seconds. Go. Right, gap, Jordan. Stay down.
We've always embraced our underdog role, but we don't get too caught up in other people's opinions of us. And every day we strive to prove what Michigan basketball really is. We know the work that we put in on a day-to-day basis, and we certainly feel like we deserve to be here.
Hell of a play. Great job. Great job.
It makes me really proud to make a name here as a team, and this team really just embraces every step of the journey and doesn't worry about too much, and now we're in the Final Four.
I feel like now we really believe that we can be special. At the beginning of the season, we weren't ranked by anybody. Picked one of the last teams in our conference. We're now looking for a Final Four. So now I think guys is like, we can really do this. And once that belief factors in, who knows, sky's the limit.
We got some kids in here that were barely recruited to play at this level. And I'm sure Loyola would have some of those guys. We have some guys that are going to be pros, just like Villanova and Kansas. So we got a little bit of everything. Hopefully it's just the right mix. Just the right mix to be cutting down the nets on Monday.
All right, let's take a look at our tournament resume presented by Indeed. And all the arrows seem to point up for the Michigan Wolverines, who, the regular season, 63.4 points for the 44% opponents' field goals. Those are great numbers. Chris, as a fan, as you watch this tournament develop, Michigan appeared to be a team that was getting better at the right time.
They won the Big Ten tournament championship, and this is the second year in a row doing that, and then they just continue to get better each game, each step, and I think they put themselves in a great position to do well here.
All right, let's talk about Mo Wagner and the big man in the middle, and in a lot of ways, he's the guy who makes sure that Michigan keeps going.
Oh, absolutely. He's a presence for him defensively. He's walling up at the rim, but offensively, his skill set allows him to step away from the basket. He can make shots. He can pass the basketball. He can initiate offensive dribble handoff, and his versatility is something that really works well with this Michigan offense.
Yeah. Christian, am I wrong, or does he look like a handful in the middle?
You know, he's a good player, but I'm also impressed with Robinson. Michigan's been a high-octane offensive team for a long time, but it's really good to see them playing some defense, and Duncan is playing some defense, and it's making a big difference, and I think that's why they're in the Final Four, because they are good offensively, but they're also getting better defensively.
Yeah, I mentioned it to Chris. Why is it that certain teams are able to peak at just the right time? Is that a function of the coach?
From my experience, it was a function of the coaching, yes.
Okay, Candace, who do you like?
Coming into the Final Four, Loyola coming into this tournament looked like they were a poor man's Michigan. They play the same way. They spread the floor, they don't turn the ball over, they take care of everybody, they share the wealth. But obviously Mohamed Rockman has to play well for Michigan State, or Michigan. And, Wagner and him both didn't have a very good Elite Eight. So I see them taking control and coming into this Final Four and playing well.
Yeah. How do you see this Michigan team as an overall squad coming into the Final Four?
Yeah, I think they're balanced, like everyone up here said. They're great offensively, but their defense is what's winning games for them. And if they continue to play defense at a high level like that, they're going to be tough to beat.
Now, everybody at some point or another has to play against a real underdog, and that's what you would have to say Loyola of Chicago has been through this tournament. I'm wondering, you were an underdog in the championship game. Does that help? Does that help lift you?
Well, I think you want to find an edge anywhere you can. And this is a group of guys that they rely on one another. They're not going to come out there and they're not going to jump higher than most players. They're not going to be the fastest, but they play well as a team. They play together. You got a couple teammates that grew up together in Cluster and Richardson from elementary school all the way through high school, played for a great high school coach and Coach Fritz, and competed and won state championships, and they've carried that same family team mentality to this team that they're on now.
Christian, I said this in the studio last week. This Loyola team reminds me of those precision Princeton teams that gave Georgetown so much trouble on occasion, and everybody else that they played, because they were so precise in their ball movement on the court.
You're right, and it's no coincidence that they have some juniors and senior leadership on their team. And I think if you look at all Kansas and Michigan and Loyola Chicago, they all have more than freshmen and sophomore, you know what I mean? They have some junior, some senior leadership. That's really, really important. When I was playing, I never worried about the underdog so much. I was always worried about the high-scoring team. Like when I was in college, Loyola Marymount, they scored a lot of points. Any team that didn't care about defense and just tried to outscore you, those teams really scared me. So the underdog's not so much of a big thing. It's a team that can score a lot of points, and that's why I'm thinking Michigan has the best chance this weekend, because they're scoring easily.
Well, I'm just wondering about underdogs simply because if not much is expected of you, that must eliminate an awful lot of pressure.
It does, but then the real pressure hits you when you're out there on the court against a really
It's a really good team. Yeah. Let's talk about Sister Jean. I know it's a favorite of yours, and is it how it's fun? It's certainly great for all the reporters are covering. She drew an unbelievable press conference here.
Standing room only. Sister Jean obviously has been a great story. I think for me, obviously she crushed my hopes and dreams as a Tennessee Volunteer. But I mean, to be 98 years old and to be able to be at an event like the Final Four, just be sharp, give scouting reports. I mean, if a 98-year-old, I don't know about Dan, but if a 98-year-old woman gives me a scouting report, I'm going to follow it.
She didn't score 1 point against Tennessee. What do you mean she crushed you? She didn't score one single
I mean, they showed the prayer before the game. I think she scored a couple buckets.
All right. We'll step aside for a moment. When we come back, a look at what's going on over at the Music Festival. That comes your way, and we are live from San Antonio, Texas.
Cheese.
We welcome you back to At the Final Four, presented by Infinity. The party has begun here in San Antonio. The Wendy's food truck open for business. Wendy's serves fans burgers and Frosties. The Wendy's madness will continue all weekend long. Candace has plenty of time to stop by for a burger, whatever else she wants. Meanwhile, tons of concerts and bands to enjoy, including Music Fest, which kicked off last night with performances on the Enterprise stage. Let's check out JB and the Moonshine Band. Lowe's, a corporate partner of NCAA March Madness, would like to take this opportunity to thank all past, current, and future military personnel and their families. Lowe's is honored to host military families this weekend in San Antonio at the Final Four and is proud to offer the Lowe's military discount in stores and on Lowe's.com year-round. Now, over the course of the tournament, we had our confidential cameras embedded with 8 different teams. Their perspective from inside of March Madness gave us some of the great moments of this NCAA tournament.
Ready to roll?
How you got a wide body and little legs?
Who'd win, a tiger or a cougar?
A cougar.
We're playing the Cougars, you idiot. Come on, I just teed that up for you.
Yeah, we gotta start over. Take 2.
If you don't get a good breakfast, then you're not gonna have a good day.
He makes a terrible protein shake.
Could have used a little more unnatural peanut butter, but other than that.
I got the salad. Don't tell my mom, but I'm not gonna be eating that right now.
This is Texas. It don't freeze out here.
No, stop.
What y'all got going on? Oh my gosh.
I'm Sister Jean Dolores Schmidt. I'm 98 years old.
There's no sporting event, quite like March Madness.
You play on a stage when the NCAA captures the attention of the entire country.
And this is where the good stuff comes in.
So be careful out there.
Yes, ma'am.
San Diego with it, yeah.
This game ain't gonna be easy. This game is all about toughness. They pride themselves on being junkyard dogs. You want this to keep going, this feeling you want, it's gonna double, it's gonna triple, it's gonna quadruple if you can win on Sunday. It's gonna go to a level that none of us have ever seen, including me.
We have an unbelievable opportunity right here to make history. This team has got a chance to be the best team in the history of Auburn basketball. Grab it. Grab it right now.
Especially when you're warming up, I want you to really just take it in, soak it in, enjoy this thing. But when that buzzer starts, it's time to go compete now. Let's lock in.
This is our first dance on the big floor. We are going to be focused, and we're going to keep our heads and our hearts into the game. We're asking God to help us, and we're going to play our very best.
Maybe on three. 1, 2, 3, bam.
And let's get another day started in March Madness. We welcome you to the NCAA tournament, and the field is 64.
Emotions, energy, passions, nothing like it.
Should be a fun one here this evening.
Toss it up in the air, and we are underway.
Caleb on the break. Over to Cody. Cody all the way, slammed up.
Schofield drives around Love and slam with the right hand. Turn me up, baby!
I really don't understand how you're playing for your lives and you're acting the way you're acting.
Here they come, Love.
And the Ramblers are moving on. March Madness magic.
EC from 3.
Got it for Rhode Island, advancing to the second round.
I told you, we don't lose here.
Caroline drives baseline, goes into the rim and dunks. And Nevada will steal this one in overtime, revive and advance.
15 of the shot clock. Off to Williams, right wing, turns to shoot a 3, then he hits and he's fouled.
Coach Peden called that play. Let's give him a big.
Bone rises. No, and the dream is alive.
No, we're not done yet. The next stop is the Sweet 16. Yeah!
For the first time since 1997, the Clemson Tigers are sweet.
Sweet 16, baby!
And Nevada wins. Oh! Nevada goes to the Sweet 16.
Two teams that not many people expected to be here, the Nevada Wolfpack and the Loyola Chicago Ramblers. Towns dribbles and fires a 3, and he got it! 6 seconds left. Marcus Towns with a huge 3, and the horn sounds. That's it! And Cinderella will continue to dance. Loyola's off to the Elite Eight. Driving inside Ingram, he gets to the rim and finishes with a left. Loyola getting a little nervous. Right wing, three-pointer, Richardson, he got it! There's the silencer.
The Ramblers of Loyola Chicago headed to San Antonio. Chicago, you got a Final Four team.
We have a very difficult task ahead of us. I value very much how good a team Loyola is. We're going to have to play better than we've played if we're going to be playing on Monday night.
Everything's the same. We're going to do our warmers the same, our individual work the same, our defense is shell the same. Nothing's different, man. Nothing's different, all right? So you do nothing different. You're always focused, you're high energy, you're talking, you're communicating, we're sharp. That's what we're practicing today.
I see a group of people over there. I'm not sure what we're going to do, but it looked pretty fun.
Let's do it. Work. Yes. Yes.
And we can't wait for Saturday so we can play defense. We know that's what wins.
You know, Danny Manning had a great point. Back in his day, the media didn't have the kind of access to teams when they were away from the court as they do now. I imagine, Chris, you had an awful lot of it. Do you remember it?
Yeah, I do remember. It was a lot of media after practice and before practice. You know, it was a lot. You know, a lot of distractions. But you know, it was fun to experience with the team that we had and to experience that with those guys. And I wouldn't trade it in for the world.
Now, you didn't fake anything just because the cameras were on, did you?
No, not at all.
Did you have to deal with that?
We dealt with it. Obviously, it wasn't in HD because I played so long ago. But, you know, we had the handheld cameras and, you know, they would do different props for us to mess around, go follow us to the mall. And,
Yeah.
But it really was about team bonding for sure.
It wasn't an intrusion.
It wasn't. I think at that time it was before, you know, Facebook. Well, Facebook was getting big, but Instagram and all that. Yeah, it was before all that.
So let me turn to these guys because the access wasn't quite there. What did we miss?
Well, you miss what you're seeing now. You know, all these moments you reflect back on and you think so fondly of. These are the moments that you really remember. You remember playing the games, but you remember spending time and having unique experiences with your teammates in settings like this.
And Christian, when I say what did we miss, I'm only asking about the things you can talk about on television.
You know, you didn't miss much. You know, maybe I'm different, but I just want to see stuff on the court, you know? My favorite musicians, I just want to see them on the stage and in the studio. I don't care what they're doing at home. I don't care what they're doing on the bus. So this excessive access, I don't necessarily agree with it, but it is good for certain things, and it gives people a lot of exposure. But if you want exposure, just get to the Final Four by winning. Don't worry about all that social media and all that other stuff. If you get to the Final Four and you win, you'll get all the exposure you need.
Yeah, I'm sure. All right, thanks. Don't go away. We'll be back with more after this. And by the way, Candace travels with her own tape.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, yeah.
Yes!
Hey.
She can Bluetooth it. She can Bluetooth it right
But do you
there.
see? But do you see how it's not in HD? Like that's just aging me right there.
As Sister Jean would say, you go, girl.
Take that, Sister Jean. Take that.
At the Final Four, presented by Infiniti, is sponsored by AT&T. More for your thing. That's our thing.
All my life, been grinding all my life. Sacrifice, hustle paid the price.
We've done a lot. We changed the game. We gave them a new choice, a new way. We became the eyes, the ears, the voice. But there's one thing we haven't done yet. Now we're about to give you what's behind this door. We're going live.
Got to roll the dice, that's why. All my life, I've been grinding all my life. Look.
Welcome back to San Antonio, and as we sit here along the Riverwalk before we say goodbye to a couple of guys, let's get their thoughts on the games upcoming tonight. Let's start with you, Chris. Gee, I wonder who Chris is going to pick.
Obviously, you know, I'm going to go with my Wildcats first. You know, I just think the experience that they have, Jalen Brunson, National Player of the Year candidate. I mean, well, he got the trophy, one of them. Phil Booth, Amari Spellman. I just think the way the guys gel, I think the way that they play defense, the way they spread the floor, I think it'll be a tough matchup for Kansas. And I think Michigan is going to pull it out against Loyola, the way that they've been playing defense. And, you know, when you can grind games out in the tournament without playing well on offense and your defense can win you some games, I think that that bodes well for you. So I take Michigan and then, of course, my Wildcats.
Candace.
I like Nova. I think Jalen Brunson is the best player in the nation, and he's playing that way well. He's leading his team. They shoot the three. As long as they don't live by the three, they got to get to the basket a little bit. But I like your Nova. And I can't bet against Loyola again. I've done it in every game, and every game Sister Jean comes through. So I'm going to go with Loyola. They spread the wealth.
You are definitely afraid of going against a nun.
So afraid.
I know. All right, Danny.
Well, I like the Ramblers. I think they're playing at a high clip right now when they're out here enjoying the moment. And I think they're going to come out and play free and loose. And, of course, to win it all, I'm taking my Jayhawks. Rock chalk, baby.
I am in shock.
All right.
Christian.
Duke, what? I'm taking Michigan and Villanova. I just think Michigan God, they continue to shoot the ball well. And Wagner's scoring some points down low in the lane for him. So I'm taking Michigan. And then I'm sorry, Kansas fans, but I just think Villanova, they got a good thing going this year. I think Villanova's going to win it all, but I expect Villanova to win tonight. So Michigan and Villanova in the final on Monday.
All right. Candace is going to stay here, but Christian, thank you for being here. Danny, always good to see you as well. And Chris Jenkins, if he could only get out there and get one more shot off, he'd be great.
Oh, man.
That's it for us here at the Final Four, presented by Infiniti. We want to thank all of these guys, and we will have still a lot more to come here at the Riverwalk. Don't go away. We have another hour. Candace will be here. Seth Davis, Brendan Haywood will join us. Stick around. We'll be back in just a bit.
To San Antonio.
Wolverines to the Final Four.
Kansas is still dancing.
It's another supernova run to the Final Four.
Welcome back to San Antonio, Texas. We are at the Final Four and along the Riverwalk in beautiful San Antonio. Candace Parker is with me. We are joined now by Seth Davis and by Brendan Haywood. I'm Greg Gumbel, and joining us now is the head coach of Kansas, Bill Self, who has been kind enough to sit there for a couple of minutes and wait till we get out of commercial. Coach, thank you for taking the time. We appreciate it because you have absolutely nothing to do this time of the year in this particular city right now.
Well, I know it takes a while to get Seth's makeup just right, so I'm okay.
And we're still not there, by the way. I could have used a couple more minutes. But
Coach, we talk about all the pressures that hit the teams. Do those pressures ever reach to the coaches at all?
Oh, sure they do. But you know, I think our players have done a great job handling it. And be honest, our staff's loose. I'm loose. And you know, with us, we've been in that Elite Eight game, you know, quite a bit. So getting here was, you know, kind of like the pressure was off. And I really think we've had a great week of preparation, and our guys are certainly enjoying the moment.
Coach, this is Brendan Haywood here, obviously preparing for Villanova, one of the better offensive teams in the tournament. What they do behind the three-point line, everybody knows about. What are you guys going to do to try to slow them down, one of the better three-point teams in this tournament?
Well, I think they're the best three-point shooting team in the tournament. From what I understand, they only need to make 7 to set the all-time record for most makes in a season by any team in NCAA history. So, you know, we got to try to run them off the line. There's no question of that. We need our closeouts to be a step shorter than what they normally are. You know, we play a big 5-man, and certainly, you know, they're going to try to use their 5 to get Udoka away from the basket. And, you know, he's never guarded out there all year long to the level he'll have to tonight. So, you know, we're going to give up some things. And to be honest, we can play great defense, and they can still come away with 3. Or they can get an open look and miss a 3. And tonight's going to be a game that, you know, in all honesty, we're going to need to make some semi-guarded shots, and we're going to need them to miss some uncontested looks. But that's the way it is in all big games.
Hey, Coach, Candace Parker. Just talk about Malik Newman and how crucial he's been in the NCAA tournament. Obviously, last game, having 32 points, all of your 13 points in overtime. Just speak to how you plan on getting him off and, you know, how Villanova is going to key in on him.
Well, I think Villanova will key in on him, but, you know, we got 4 good guards starting. And you know, we really haven't done a lot for Malik as far as running set plays for him. We're kind of like Villanova in that regard. You know, a bad closeout is a set play for them, and it's also that way for us. And so, you know, he's been our best player in the tournament so far, and even through the Big 12 tournament. So we're going to need him to play very well. But, you know, he's got a guy next to him that's pretty good too, in Devontae, and he really hasn't made shots yet in the tournament. So we're hopeful we can have that 1-2 punch going.
Hey, Bill, that's exactly what I was going to ask you about Devontae. It's pretty impressive that you've gotten to the Final Four without him shooting the ball the way that he's played in the season. People say, well, he hasn't played well. I try to say, well, he hasn't shot well, but he certainly played well. How important is it for him to make shots, make three-point shots for you guys to win tonight?
You know, I learned a long time ago, if you say that we have to do this to win, does that mean if we don't do it that we don't win? You know, teams have to adapt, and so certainly our team has adapted by Devontae not really having the feel from three yet, but like you said, he's played well, and you know, we've got 4 guys that can stretch it, and although we would love for Devontae to be one of them, and I believe he will tonight, but it'd be nice if we can get 3 guys hitting out of those 4, and if we do that, I think we can offset, you know, maybe one guy having maybe a little bit of off night behind the perimeter, but hey, LeGerald's been better, Svi's been on a roll, and certainly Malik's been his best, and we need that to continue as well.
Coach, I heard you say earlier this week, and I mentioned it earlier in our show, that you felt that this matchup, that you guys are mirror images of each other. And I'm wondering if that makes your task easier or difficult as far as going against another team.
I always liked it when teams were different, you know, preparing for a team that's different than you. When I say mirror, I mean they're going to play at least 4 out, and a lot of times 5 out. They're going to play primarily man-to-man. They're going to switch a lot. Of course, they'll play their matchup and their press as well. But I do think when you look at it, you got an All-American point guard going against an All-American point guard. You've got athletic 3 men that are playing the 4, and then the difference is we've got a low post score, and their low post score is really maybe arguably as good a 3-point shooters they have right now, especially in the tournament. So there's some differences, but also there's some similarities. When I say mirror each other, I'm talking about what do both teams value, you know, not giving up easy baskets, stealing extra possessions, you know, chasing down 50-50 balls. I mean, those are what both our programs take a lot of pride in, and that's what I meant primarily when I said mirror each other.
Hey, Coach, can you speak to how the Big 12 prepared you for the NCAA tournament? You know, obviously coming from a tough conference, that had to help.
Oh, yeah, I think it did. You know, our 18-game gauntlet was it's probably as tough as anybody went through all year long. You know, our league was terrific top to middle, you know, because there was absolutely no bottom to it. And you know, you get 7 in, and arguably you could have had 9. But you know, not everybody can get in. I understand that. But it was a great league. But you know what? Our league also prepared Villanova for us. You know, because they play West Virginia in the 16 game and Texas Tech in the 8 game. So, and we struggled to win all those games, the ones that we did win against those 2 opponents. And you know, even though they were struggles for Nova, you know, they still came away with double-digit figure wins. So we know we got our work cut out today, but hey, we're playing at a high clip now. This is the best we've been all year long, and it's probably the best Nova's been at all year long. It'll be a high-level game.
Coach, you briefly mentioned Azubuike and him not being forced to guard on the perimeter a lot this season. If that becomes a problem in this game, what will be the adjustment? Will it be maybe a smaller lineup, a switch in the screen and roll coverage? What are you thinking here?
No, you know, you can say in theory, well, we'll just play small. Well, when you take out your best offensive force to play small, I don't know if that's what we'll do. Foul trouble will dictate, Brendan, what adjustments we make more than anything else. You know, we'll try to get him closer to guarding on the perimeter, but the reality is we know Jay's going to play to pick and pop with Spellman, and we know that. And Doak's got to be there on the catch. He's got to move his feet, and maybe we switch who we guard, but this is how we've gotten here. We played 38 games playing this way, so we're not going to change how we play because, in all honesty, we don't have the personnel to actually change how we play. So we just got to do a better job of defending them the way they want to play than what we've ever been asked to do this year. And on the flip side, we need to throw the ball inside to make them guard him down low.
Bill, I'm glad that Brendan asked about Doak because aside from what he's going to give you on the court tonight, this unbelievable story about his mother coming over from Nigeria. She hasn't seen him, I believe, since maybe he was 13 years old. Hasn't seen him play a basketball game because she didn't have the internet access in Nigeria. Now the first time she's going to see him play is tonight in front of 90,000 people. Could you just update us what's going on with that? I mean, have you met her? Is she here? Is she going to the game? What's that experience been like for everybody?
Well, it's been great. Of course, that's one of the great things the NCAA has done is allowed, you know, student athletes participating. I think in all the sports, if I'm not mistaken, for families to get to the game and they're given a stipend. And you know, Doak hasn't seen his mother since he's 13. He's really young. He's only 18 now. It's been 5.5 years since he's seen his mother. And he lost his father, I believe, when he was in 6th grade. So we got her here, and on Tuesday, she did not have a visa. And I don't believe she had a passport either, but thanks to, you know, political people in D.C. and in Kansas and dealing with embassies and consulates over in Nigeria, we were able to get that done. And she missed flights. It took her forever, but she landed last night about 11:30. And Doak was at the airport to meet her, and he didn't want anybody to go except just him and our little party that picked them up. But I got a short video of it that nobody will probably ever see of the first embrace. And it's so special. I mean, to think that a mother can love her son so much that she could send him away at age 13 for him to have a better life. And fortunately, he's been with a great host family and the Coxums, who treated him just like he was their very own. But there's a lot of great stories of this tournament, and of course, none better than what Loyola has done. But this ranks right up there pretty high. It's pretty special, and I hope he's not too emotional. But this was one time that I thought, you know, this trumps the game. Him having the opportunity to see his mother.
Special is a great word for it, Coach, and you're right. It's what helps make up this tournament. Well, congratulations to you. We wish you and the Kansas Jayhawks all the best and look forward to the game. Thanks so much for taking the time to join us.
All right, guys. Thank you.
You bet. Still much more to come on the Final Four show. Before we head to break, it's time for another edition of Infinity's Hardwood Heroes.
Yeah, the Cancer was the heavy favorite. Being an underdog really is motivation. People are thinking that you're going to bottom out. People are thinking that you're not going to be strong enough. And I know that by beating cancer, everything else is easy.
Take a time out to fight cancer. Play the Infinity round-by-round bracket.
The Final Four show is sponsored by Westin Hotels and Resorts. Let's rise. Indeed, the world's #1 job site. And by Coca-Cola. Taste the feeling.
In 2003, Jim Boeheim and the Syracuse Orange reached the championship game for the third time in school history. But the Kansas Jayhawks stood in their way.
The championship game underway.
Syracuse featured two freshman sensations, Carmelo Anthony and Jerry McNamara.
Anthony looks like he's going to catch it to him. Back to the other freshman. McNamara with the three. Anthony outside on three.
Anthony finished the title game with 20 points, 10 rebounds, and 7 assists.
McNamara, 3 again.
While McNamara hit 6 of 10 from beyond the arc.
McNamara with another 3.
But the game wasn't decided until the final seconds. The Jayhawks trailed by just 3 when Hakeem Warrick made the block of the tournament.
Heinrich with 4 seconds, gives it up corner, lead shot blocked. They have less than a second to go.
Syracuse held on to win 81-78.
Syracuse is your national champion.
It was their first national championship in school history.
Welcome back, everyone. It is time now for Northwestern Mutual Planning for Success. We ask Michigan head coach John Beilein for his keys to the game.
If we get open for shots, and we're going to have to work to get open, we're going to have to make them. We're going to make sure, have to work really hard to make sure they don't get open shots. It's not easy, but it's simple. We got to execute so that we can get to the basket or make outside shots or mid-range shots, and we got to keep them from doing what we're trying to do. That's what it's going to come down to. We got to have energy, and we got to play without fatigue ever becoming a factor in the game.
John Beilein, his Wolverines will be on display in Game 1 tonight. Entering the 1967-68 season, a repeat national championship seemed a foregone conclusion for John Wooden's Bruins. Led by Lou Alcindor and a pair of All-American guards, UCLA was already being considered as the greatest college basketball team of all time. Their biggest challenge was a mid-season showdown with the second-ranked Houston Cougars in college basketball's first nationally televised regular season game.
52,693, the largest paid audience to ever see basketball anywhere at any level.
UCLA had dominated Houston in the Final Four in 1967, just like they had dominated everybody else. So heading into this game, there was every reason to expect that they would be able to not only win the game, but win the game handily. But 8 days before the big game, this game of the century, Lou Alcindor gets poked in the eye. That eye injury was quite serious, and it definitely affected his play that night.
Just to me, it's amazing that Lou Alcindor can even play tonight after what he's been through the past week with the eye injury.
He was not at 100%. He did have trouble shooting under the basket.
Inside Alcindor, fakes, goes up, blocked by Hayes.
Obviously, Houston knew coming up to the game that Alcindor had an eye injury, but Elvin Hayes was just on another planet.
Hayes, 17-footer, hits the bucket.
Coach asked me point blank, he said, "You think you can beat these guys?" I said, "Coach, as long as we got Elvin, we're going to win."
It's Hayes over Alcindor, 17-footer, good! And Gribben off to Hayes to score. Elvin Hayes is putting on a one-man show.
All of a sudden, it's the University of Houston taking down UCLA, the unbeatable program, the unbeatable team, the unstoppable player, the greatest coach on the planet.
3 seconds.
We'd won 47 straight games. We didn't know what it was like to have the buzzer go off and us to be on the losing end. We're not supposed to lose. We were supposed to go 90-0 with Lou Alcindor, and we just lost. After the game, John Wooden was smiling, and I thought, wow, that's really amazing. We just lost this big game on national TV, and he's smiling.
John Wooden liked to say that there was a big part of him that was relieved by the loss.
Coach Wooden was quoted as saying, the only thing worse than losing all the time is winning all the time. So that's why I think the game of the century didn't upset him that much when we lost. He knew that in the end, it might be a good thing for us.
Motivated by the loss, the Bruins changed their focus from repeat to revenge.
They certainly celebrated after the games and very vocal about how good they were, and they had defeated the #1 team. And that was a great motivator for us, tremendous motivator.
So our focus after that game was getting ready for them the next time around in the NCAA tournament.
Both teams won their preliminary NCAA tournament games easily, setting the stage for the rematch at the Final Four in Los Angeles. This time, UCLA was the home team and featured a motivated and now healthy Lou Alcindor.
We felt that we were the best team in college basketball, and we felt that we were beaten earlier when we weren't at full strength.
The Cougar of Houston is now king of the hill as the basketball giants prepare for their long-awaited rematch.
We thought we could really beat them. We thought we had a good chance of beating them.
Hayes finished the season averaging 38 points a game.
We were very excited. We were undefeated and had all hopes of going out there and winning a national championship.
But of even more significance is the fact that Lou Alcindor is healthy. The Cougars quickly realized that this is a different Lou Alcindor than the one they controlled in the Astrodome.
That game was the first time where Coach Wooden actually changed his strategy for a specific team. Going into that game, I think he realized how Elvin Hayes had dominated, and so he created a diamond-in-one defense and had Lynn Shackelford chase Elvin around and prevent him from getting the ball, and the other 4 players played in the zone, and it was very effective.
They were all over me. Just guard him head to head, face to face. Forget about where the ball is.
Well, they shut him down, and once they shut him down,
Hayes is forced to take a poor shot.
party was over.
Turnover after turnover. We scored a lot off the press. Mike Warren had orchestrated the team very well.
The UCLA scoring machine that averaged 93 points a game this season is not to be denied.
That was easily, in my 3 years on the varsity, the best game we ever played.
Mike Warren, number 44.
Dick Enberg calls it the best game a John Wooden team ever played. So we poured it on.
The Bruins flick off 11 straight points in the second half, hitting from all directions.
We won by 32. We could have won by more. Everyone had a good game.
I guess tonight we have shown to all the basketball people in the country who is the better team of the two.
After they beat Houston, up next is North Carolina.
UCLA controls the opening jump.
And North Carolina was destined to be yet another victim of the UCLA powerhouse.
Then Larry Miller loses the handle.
The game probably did not have, even though it was for the national championship, as much motivation as the Houston game, because the Houston game, we wanted to win that game, set the record straight.
78-55 UCLA win is the most one-sided victory in NCAA title game history.
On January 28, 2018, UCLA welcomed back the national champions, celebrating 50 years of excellence.
We had three things that made us great. One was Lou Alcindor at center. He was arguably the greatest college basketball player of all time. Secondly, he had a great supporting cast. We were loaded. And then we had John Wooden, who kept it all in perspective.
This was John Wooden's best team. And if Lou Alcindor isn't hurt, they run the table, they have a perfect season. So that's why I do think that this is the most dominant and the best team that John Wooden ever had.
That game of the century paved the way for what we know now as March Madness. And joining us now, one of the key participants in that game, three-time national champion, Hall of Famer, the one and only Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. It's so good to have you here with us.
Nice to be here, Greg. Thank you very much.
You know, that whole story is such a grabber for any basketball fan, but to you, it's got to be part of your DNA. What do you think when you watch this stuff all over again, and a lot of times over and over again?
I have to relive it all the time. You know, every time we have a reunion or anything, this is what they want to talk about. So it's very much a part of national basketball history, you know, and it's going to be forever. So it's amazing that we were involved in it in such an intense way.
It could be worse. It could have had a bad ending.
It could have, yeah. You know, Houston was a great team, very talented athletes and well coached.
So, first of all, Greg, can we just behold the quality of post-play currently sitting at this desk between
here we go.
All-time? I mean, seriously, if you can't get an assist on this desk, you know, I had the honor of being with Dick Enberg, our mutual friend. Of course, you knew him a long time, voice of UCLA, for really the last thing he ever did in broadcasting. Back in Houston, we did a special, and Elvin Hayes was there, and Don Chaney was there. And any suggestion that their win was connected to your eye injury was made for very awkward moments in the green room. I certainly maintain it's the only time you shot under 50% as a collegian.
Right, it's the only game in my collegiate career where I shot under 50%.
So there's no question if your eye's good, you win the game, right? Let's be honest.
Something was happening.
When you, to Greg's point, that game was held in the Astrodome. Yeah. Tonight's game is being held in the Alamo. Could you have popped in college basketball that would come as a result of that game?
No, I couldn't. I remember when I was in high school and we wanted to watch the NC2A tournament, we had to like really go through a lot of changes. It was very rarely televised, and we had to be able to check out the box scores in the newspaper. I remember I had to get the New York Post used to print all the box scores, and you know I'd read about my teams, and you know I was trying to figure out where I wanted to go to college.
Well, playing for, you know, obviously John Wooden, I played for Coach Summit, and sometimes I didn't quite understand her coaching. You know, I didn't understand where she was taking our team or in her reactions. Were you surprised at all in John Wooden's reaction after the game? I mean, he just smiled and...
Well, I think Coach Wooden understood that maybe we were getting a little bit too swell-headed or something, and that gave us something to that took us out of that mode and made us focus, and it was good for us. So I think he was just, as like the parent that he was just noticing that, and he was happy that all right, now I'll have their attention.
Talk more about that focus and that motivation. When you look at this matchup, was this what basically what you guys focused on for the rest of the season? Like, hey, these guys think they're better than us. Hayes thinks he's better than me as a player. Was that something that's day-to-day that you just said you looked at and used that as motivation?
I'll tell you what I did. The week after we lost, Sports Illustrated had the game on the cover, and there I am on the cover, Elvin Hayes shooting a jump shot over me on the cover. I cut that cover off, and I taped it to the back of my locker room. So I had to see it every day when I came to practice. Yeah. And it was wonderful motivation for me, because I knew I had work to do, and I had to prove something. And it really helped me, and I think the rest of my teammates saw how I reacted to it. I wasn't going to mouth off about it. I was just going to get ready and be a lot better the next time.
You have so many memories and so many accomplishments. You did it at the high school level, at the collegiate level, at the NBA level. Where does the college experience weigh in for you?
Well, I think my college experience really was part of the best times of my life. You know, the things that I did there, I got my education. I learned a whole lot about the world. I learned about my faith. I learned so much while I was at UCLA. I can't ever take that and put it in front of my professional career. That's different. That's what I did for my family and stuff. The college was for me, and it was wonderful. It was the best experience I had.
Well, Greg, again, with the assist to Kareem, because I want to have the chance to plug your new book. I'm almost tired of plugging my own book, but this is Becoming Kareem, Growing Up On and Off the Court. And what's interesting is, to Greg's point, is the picture on the front is of UCLA, and everything that you did in the NBA, still the NBA's all-time leading scorer, and all those titles with the Lakers. We still think of you as that guy at UCLA. Yet, if you were a high school senior in 2018, being who you were, and you had a chance to go to the NBA, you probably would have done that and not had those 4 years at UCLA, 3 on the varsity. Can you imagine how your life and maybe your playing career would have been different had you not experienced college at all and gone straight to the NBA?
Well, it would have been a lot different in that I would not have been as well-rounded as I ended up being. You know, I would not have been the author. I wouldn't have been as outspoken as I was. But, you know, all the things that I experienced going to college and what was happening in our country, you know, the 1968 Democratic Convention, the assassination of Dr. King and Bobby Kennedy, electing Nixon, all of these things.
Twice.
Exactly. They really had a profound effect on me as a person that had nothing to do with basketball.
Whenever we think about Kareem, we also think about Coach Wooden. What was one of the biggest things you took away from Coach Wooden? Like, if you said, hey, over my 4 years, these 2 or 3 things are what I really tried to cling to and learn from him.
The main thing, I think, was to be well-rounded, to get my degree, to not just be, and that Coach Wooden did everything that he asked us to do. All right, he got his degree. He taught English or two. He was extraordinarily well-rounded, and that's what he wanted for his players. And we were able to not to let him down. That was very important to us.
Did you ever fight John Wooden? Like, did you ever fight his teaching? Were you stubborn when you first got there and you grew?
Actually, I was very simpatico. The only arguments Coach Wooden and I have ever had have been about our all-time all-star teams for baseball. Okay, so we argue. I'm a National League guy, he's an American League guy, and we argue about that. We never argued about anything else.
It is our privilege and pleasure to have had all the best. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much, Greg.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, ladies and gentlemen.
The GOAT, the GOAT.
We'll take a timeout, and we'll continue. Meanwhile, over at the Alamo Dome, the Loyola Chicago Ramblers getting set to play basketball.
Fighting Sister Jeans.
And back.
This is True Karma.
A little while ago, you saw the Loyola Ramblers getting off of their bus. That is the bus carrying Michigan and Loyola in Game 1 of the doubleheader. We welcome you back to San Antonio. Time for Real Strength Moments presented by Dove Men.
Villanova's Chris Jenkins and North Carolina's Nate Britt are brothers, but not by blood. They met through basketball when both played for the youth team coached by Britt's father. Extenuating circumstances and inspiring each other. They both achieved their dreams of winning a national championship. Jenkins Wildcats beat Brits Tar Heels in 2016. North Carolina took the title last year with Nate's biggest fan, Chris, there showing his support and care for his brother.
Villanova face off in tonight's second semifinal showdown. After losing National Player of the Year Frank Mason to graduation and freshman phenom Josh Jackson, Coach Bill Self got his team playing together at the right time to not only notch their 14th straight conference title, but to reach for the Final Four for the first time since 2012.
This might have been the most pressure I felt in my 4 years, definitely here. A lot of people not believing that we would get it done.
Or what?
One thing that Coach says is faces change, expectations don't. So none of the expectations really changed for us this year.
Let's all get together and get your butts to San Antonio.
I think people around us, had reason to believe this would be the team that couldn't do it. I think it's been a little bit of surprise even to our fans that this team has done as well as what it's done.
We kind of use that as motivation and kind of just use it to, go out and show that we're still one of the top programs in the nation.
Our mentality and what got us here is definitely got a lot to do with Coach Self and him making us tougher, him making us become a team.
Right now, practice shot play. Anybody? Hey, so we're closing out, acting like we're going to lift, but we're setting down the whole time.
Some things like that I felt 100% was fair and true at the time that it was said, and probably added a little fuel to the fire.
We always believed. Even though that the cause was staked against us probably each and every night, we believed that we could do it. And it's a tough group of guys that I'm playing with. And, those guys, they laid it out on the line each and every night.
Definitely be the biggest game of my life. Villanova, a great team. We tell each other that, you can't listen to what all the outside people are saying. It only matters what the coaching staff believe and what we believe in ourselves. We knew we could be here. Now we're trying to keep it rolling.
It's the best experience ever, man. It's cool. Pretty cool.
Good luck.
Thank you. I appreciate you. My girl. Man, for us to win a national championship, it'll be by far one of the greatest moments in probably all our lives. If you can write a book, it'll be exactly how the book would be ending. And, you the author, so you choose how the story goes.
Oh, here's what the team cast will look like for Kansas. And look who's here. Actor, comedian, Kansas alum, superfan, Mr. Rob Riggle, who will be a reporter for the Kansas team cast tonight over on TNT, a job which I assume is not going to be very difficult for you.
No, it's the fan perspective, so I'm looking forward to it.
Let's make sure that everybody knows what kind of T-shirt you're wearing underneath the jacket.
Oh yeah, it's old school Kansas. This is throwback.
Oh, I like that. That's fly right there. I like that.
You got to bring it from the old days.
Coordinate.
Not that I'm that old, but you got to bring it from the old days.
Yesterday is the old days.
Exactly.
So what qualifies you?
I'm a super fan. I am a KU alumni. I am a Jayhawk through and through. Jayhawk for life, as you would say. And I know the team. I love the team. They asked me to come. That was a huge thing, too. That always helps when they ask you to come.
When you're invited.
Being asked. All right, I'm sure you've been, knee-deep in statistics and homework.
Doing the homework.
Studying up.
Doing it.
Show us your basketball chops. Or break down the game for us.
All right, break down the game. I'm not. We're playing Nova, I believe.
Yes.
Correct? Yes.
Is that true, Candace?
Yeah, that's true.
I think that's right.
Candace is the knowledge one.
Look, Villanova's a great team. No one's going to challenge that. They're the favorite. They're favored by 5, I believe, in this game.
I have no idea what you're talking
about. Exactly. No one knows
what
I'm
is that?
on that.
We don't talk about lines. We don't know about that.
Entertainment purposes.
The word on the street is. So, look, they're the favorite. That puts us as the underdog, which I dig. I love being the underdog. And 2 number 1 seeds going at it. I'm excited. If our team does what I know they're capable of, I fully anticipate playing on Monday.
So the key is to score more points? Is that what it came down to?
Look, if I have to break it down for you, if we score more points, I think we're going to win.
Dumb it down. Thank you.
I think we're going to win.
Rob, has there been any basketball in your past or maybe in your future?
I mean, you're talking about my legendary intramural basketball prowess at
with
the University
Seth, right?
of Kansas?
Seth, you guys played at the same?
No, you didn't go to Camp Aqueduct, did you?
No. I went to Gene Bartow's basketball camp.
Clean Gene.
Oh, good old Gene, UAB Gene.
Where, at UAB?
No, it was actually up in Lexington, Missouri, believe it or not. And I went there and learned a lot of valuable skills and sweated a lot.
Became a comedian as a result.
Pretty much, yeah. Got out of basketball and got into showbiz.
I would love to know what the look on your face was and the rate of your heartbeat when Grayson Allen's shot at the buzzer rolled off of the rim and forced overtime.
Well, true story. We just got a new dog, and this was our dog's first KU game. And so I think I scared her to death because I screamed, "Oh my God!" as it went out of the cylinder, and the dog took off running. So I haven't seen her since, but I'm sure she'll come back.
Rob, every fan has their favorite player. Who's your favorite player on this year's Kansas team?
Look, I love Devontae Graham because he is such a great leader, and he steps up when it's time. And I don't know, he just delivers. But I love everybody else. Fee is amazing. I like him. Newman is lights out in this tournament. So, and then of course Big Duke. You know, when you got dope, it's all gravy right now. And DeSouza is amazing too. I mean, this guy. He hasn't been playing basketball for what, like 5 months, and the guy is amazing. So yeah, we have a lot of unbridled talent that if we get it right tonight, we're going to Monday.
Hey, listen, there are a lot of horror stories about first time out there, but you're going to be great. Thanks for
no
thank
pressure.
You for being
No one's
here.
watching.
Yeah, no
the
pressure.
Final Four.
And they know what they're getting. They're getting biased reporting. There's no doubt about that.
Rob Riggle, everybody. We're counting down the Loyola and Michigan coming up at 6:09 Eastern here on TBS. The Final Four show continues from San Antonio after this. Welcome back, everybody. That man holding the trophy is the mayor of San Antonio, Ron Nuremberg. As the trophy made its way around and through the Riverwalk area, we welcome you back. There's lots more going on all around town, including a concert at the Coca-Cola Music Festival near the stadium. On stage is Luis Fonsi.
This is how we do it down in Puerto Rico. I can't wait to hear you scream. Bendito, para que mi sello se quede contigo, Boricua. Pasito a pasito, suave suavecito, lo vamos pegando poquito a poquito. Que le enseñes a mi boca tus lugares favoritos. Pasito a pasito, suave suavecito, lo vamos pegando poquito a poquito. Hasta provocar tus gritos, que olvides tu apellido. Pasito a pasito, suave suavecito, lo vamos pegando poquito a poquito. Que le enseñes a mi boca tus lugares favoritos. Pasito a pasito, suave suavecito, lo vamos pegando poquito a poquito. Hasta provocar tus gritos y que olvides tu apellido. Despacito. San Antonio! I love you, San Antonio. Thank you so much.
The Final Four show is sponsored by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Google, official cloud of the NCAA. And by Sonic. This is how you Sonic.
Well, you know, you never know who's going to stick their nose out of their own sport and into another one, but that's what Michigan guys are like. Tom Brady says, ready to go tonight. Let's go blue. Welcome back, everyone, as we get you set for Loyola and Michigan. These Loyola Ramblers, Brendan, who do you like and why are they so good?
Well, they're good because they're a great defensive team and they have a lot of versatility. And who I like Krutwig and Andre Jackson. It's the combo of these two guys in the post that I think is going to be very important and dictate this game for Loyola. Krutwig is the big guy. He gives them the beef inside, the inside presence. He's also good at rolling to the basket and finishing. Not a great athlete, but he gives them that inside presence that can hurt Michigan. Then I like the fact that they have versatility with Andre Jackson. Krutwig can be exploited in the screen and roll. I expect Beeline to do that. But when you have Andre Jackson, he's smaller. He's about 6'6". He can hang on the perimeter. He can switch screen and rolls. He can guard Mo Wagner on the perimeter as well. I think the combo of Krutwig and Andre Jackson will be pivotal to if Loyola can win this basketball game. Those two guys are going to have to play well, and how Porter Moser decides who plays when will be very important.
How big a say does Mo Wagner have in this game?
Huge. He needs to make Mo buckets is what I like to call him. And the progression that he's been able to make year by year. Came over from Germany. Nobody knew who he was. He and John Beeline traded emails over a period of about 6 weeks before they finally connected. And he's really become a beast in the post. Hasn't shot it particularly well in the NCAA tournament, though he's 6 for 15 overall. Much of that happened in that Sweet 16 game against Texas A&M. He is definitely the hardest matchup. It'll be interesting, Brendan, to see what Porter Moser does with his post guys. If he wants to leave Krutwig in the game, that's a very hard cover for Krutwig to cover Mo Wagner from behind the three-point line. And defensively, what Wagner brings is huge. He's Michigan's best player. He's going to have to be their best player tonight.
And Wagner gets help on the court, Candace.
Yes, Wagner, he struggled in the Elite Eight getting to this point. Rockman and him struggled. But I think Rockman is one of those streaky players that when he gets hot, it's going to be dangerous for Loyola. You know, he can get to the basket, hasn't shot the ball incredibly well in the NCAA tournament, only making 35%. But he's one of those players that if he can get going, it'll be a long night for Loyola.
Well, I know Mo Wagner's supposed to be the best player on this Michigan team, but guess what? In this tournament, it has been Charles Matthews. The Kentucky transfer has played big from the very start of this tournament with 20 big points against Montana all the way up until their matchup against Florida State. He's been huge. He's shot the ball well. He's played well. He's played confidently. He's played with great poise also. He needs to continue that today for Michigan if they're going to beat Loyola because, hey, as much as we know about Mo Wagner, this guy's been flying under the radar. But Michigan fans know all about him. They know how good and how big he has been for this team.
And that's really the difference. The Michigan players are so much more recognizable as individuals because Loyola really beats you with their collective cohesion. They've got 5 of their leading starters are all shooting 54% or better from the field. I think their most important player has to be Clay Custer. He's a 6'1" junior point guard. He's the Missouri Valley Conference Player of the Year. 3 of their 5 losses this season came when he was hurt. So he is kind of the guy who's the table setter. But they need to win tonight with their chemistry and the collection, the whole being greater than the sum of their parts. I think they've got a great chance.
Loyola, Michigan, who do you like?
I like Michigan by a smidge.
All right, Candace.
Sister Jean, Loyola, can't go against it.
Brendan.
I'm a big John Beeline fan. I'm going to go with Michigan. Extra days to prep. I think he extends Michigan's defense. They pressure Loyola a little bit more.
Okay, Nova, Kansas?
Nova, Kansas, I'm going with Nova. Nova's been the best team in basketball all year long to me.
Candace.
Jalen Brunson, best player in the nation. Got to go with Nova.
I'm not arguing with I've been arguing these 2 guys for 3 weeks.
Right.
I'm not arguing tonight.
All right.
Nova.
That'll do it for us from the very scenic Riverwalk. Our thanks to Candace, Brendan, and Seth. Ernie Johnson, Clark Kellogg, Kenny Smith, Charles Barkley are standing by next, taking you up to game time of our first big matchup between Loyola and Michigan here on TBS. But first, April 13th, Big Meets Bigger, Rampage, starring Dwayne Johnson, rated PG-13 in theaters everywhere, April 13th.
Obviously, this is a dream come true for all of us, and we're trying to soak everything in.
They're going to feel it. It's always something that takes them to another level.
I can put on a show. I can put on a show. Beautiful love in a fierce finish. No! Yes! Yes!
Towns for 3. Yes! This is going to be a wild ride to the finish line.
San Antonio, Texas, where 351 Division I schools would love to spend the weekend, but only 4 get to. And this is one of the great days on the American sports calendar. Final Four Saturday. Porter Moser, head coach, Loyola Chicago. The Ramblers will play in the opener. A number 11 seed taking on number 3 Michigan. While the Ramblers have won 14 in a row, the Wolverines have won their last 13. And they square off today, hoping to play Monday night.
The Ramblers headed to San Antonio.
Wolverines to the Final Four.
Kansas is still dancing.
It's another supernova run to the Final Four.
Nothing quite like the electricity of the national semifinal day in college basketball. The Alamo Dome, the site, going to be packed to the rafters to watch these two games. Michigan and Loyola, Chicago, Villanova and Kansas. The student section's ready to go. And we're a little more than an hour away from tip-off here in San Antonio, hosting the Final Four for the 4th time and the first time since 2008. Welcome to the Final Four show, everybody. I'm Ernie Johnson. This is Clark Kellogg. This is Kenny the Jet Smith. This is Charles Barkley. And we welcome to the pregame show for the first segment the head coach at Notre Dame, Mike Bray. Thank you very much for being with us.
Great to be with you. Great to be with you.
Look, I'm kind of glad that we've got Clark in between me and Coach because
why?
Well, this is something that goes back to the selection show, and apparently struck a nerve with Coach Bray, and here it was. Because we are going alphabetically. Notre Dame next or not? The answer is not. We are going to the O's. Yes, Ohio State and Notre Dame unfortunately not making the tournament, and then I got home and I looked online and I saw this after Ernie Johnson's dramatic announcement on us. Next time I see him, I'm punching him in the face. And so that's why
I got him. I'm holding him back for you. I got him, Ernie. I got him.
Clark in between us. No, Coach, it's great to see you. It truly is.
Good to be with you. You know, we were last team out, but we didn't earn it, but it's great to be with you guys today. Oh, yes.
Oh, he caught me flush.
You know what, Ernie? As I do look at that, I would want to punch you in the face because why you like built up like they made it. I didn't realize
I didn't build it up like they made it. I said this is where they would be.
Oh, no, I would go right at you right now.
So look at him sucking up to Mike.
I didn't realize
that's a good teammate right there.
I didn't even know you did that. But the thing that you just said, you said, I don't remember that. I said, dude, we were on the show. No, I don't remember the
way
build
to pay
up.
attention.
Wait, you way to pay attention because I already knew they weren't in. I already had the stats.
So let's talk about this first game, Coach. And this is a Michigan team, won the Big Ten. You got this Loyola Chicago team, magical run. What does this game hinge on?
You know what? It's two teams that play a lot alike. Skilled basketball players, experienced guys, high basketball IQs, and really good defensively. I think Michigan has made great strides defensively. I've been impressed with what Loyola does on the defensive end. But when you have old guys, they can defend possession after possession. When you have a bunch of young guys, it's hard to be consistent defensively.
Any concern, excuse me, Ernie, any concern about the stage, the bright lights for this Loyola Ramblers team in your mind?
I thought if the bright lights were going to mess with them, it would have happened already. They're unbelievable right now. They feel it. They're older. The one thing about it, we have teams that can shoot the basketball. It's a little different in this building. You have to get used to it a little bit and something to keep an eye on. But you're going to see good basketball players that know how to play in the first game.
Speaking of Loyola Chicago, let's take a look at Northwestern Mutual planning for success and hear from Tracy Wolfson as she spoke with Porter Moser a short time ago.
Coach, this is your first. Coach, this is your first Final Four. It's your team's first Final Four. So much surrounding this week. How have you handled all of that to prepare them for this big stage?
Well, there's really nothing you can do. If you haven't been here before as a player or coach, there's really nothing you can simulate. It's just, it has been tremendous. San Antonio has reached out, embraced these teams, and our fan support. Everything is just at such a high level of enthusiasm. So you want that for the guys. but there's no doubt we're ready to compete. I mean, it's been a couple days of a lot of fanfare, but trying to combine it with preparation. But I know our guys, we're just anxious and ready to compete.
You say you're ready to compete. You're competing against a team in Michigan that's very similar to you, but the big difference, Mo Wagner, and you said you haven't faced a guy like him. So how do you handle him tonight?
Well, we're going to have to do some different things. All year long, we've had a different look ourselves. You know, Cameron Crutwood gives us a true center, and then all of a sudden we bring in Andre, and then we bring in a different kind of a guy. We can play small ball. And so we're going to be balancing back and forth with that. And, you know, one of the things we do is we feel we have some strength. We think Cameron Crutwood has some strengths that he can do. But Mo Wagner's a terrific player. He posed problems to everybody all year. And we're not the only one that he poses problems to. He is a terrific player, a guy that can stretch you to 24 feet. But he also can put you on the deck. I mean, he has got that shot fake and drive, and terrific player. But they got a lot of terrific players. I mean, there's a reason why they're good, and they're really good on both ends of the floor, and that's what makes them special.
Well, we wish you the best of luck tonight. Enjoy it.
Thank you, Tracy.
Chuck, do you, that's Northwestern Mutual Planning for Success. Chuck, do you see this magical run continuing for the Ramblers?
I do not, because they are, you look at all four of these teams, they're really the same team, really survive on outside shooting, don't have really a dominant post presence, just great athleticism on the perimeter. But Michigan, Villanova, and Kansas are just Loyola bigger and stronger. They all, I would say there's probably 15 pounds and 3 inches difference in the size of these players. But that's the difference to me. That's why I think Michigan will win this first game today.
Loyola, the best shooting team among the Final Four, about 53%. The best three-point shooting team at 42%. But they're facing a Michigan team, Coach, that has defended the three very well. Only 17 threes made against them in the tournament so far.
I think John Beilein would say this is his best defensive team that he's had. He's always had great offense and great spacing and beautiful to watch on the offensive end. But I think when they really embraced it defensively, they've got on this run. And you're right, they get out and take away the arc. Of course, they practice against shooters every day, right, so they know how to get out and chase guys off the line.
What's it gonna come down to here, Jet?
Well, my homework was over this week to kind of go back, recap. It's 68 teams now, it's only 4. So that was my homework, to kind of visually look at these.
That's a lot of homework, right?
It's a lot of, no, they had to look at 4 now. So when I looked at Loyola, I'm like, how are they winning? Because I'm watching the game, and I didn't think that they were really shooting the basketball from the 3 that great. I thought they were doing okay, spreading the floor, but not that great. And I look at it, every game they won, Ernie, they've won the rebound game. They didn't win the three-point game every game. They didn't win the free throw game. They've won the rebounding game against every team that they played. So if they win the rebounding game against Michigan, they'll be playing for a national championship. On the other hand, Michigan, who you think are bigger, stronger, they've won every game in the three-point ball. So for them, actually three-point shooting is much more prevalent for Michigan than it is for Loyola, when the overall consensus would be a smaller team, they open the floor up, they shoot more threes. No, they rebound and they get 2-pointers, and that's how they win basketball games. If they do that, they go to the national championship.
Well, you just made a great point, because they've made more layups than any team in the field. They've shot the ball better from the floor, three-point line, and in the paint than any team in the field. They've defended at a high rate. I see this team, because they've been the most efficient of the offensive teams here and better defensively than they get credit for. They remind me of the Butler teams of 2010 and 11 that played for national championship. People didn't give them the credit for how physical they are. Not tall, but physical. I like the Ramblers in this game because I think they can negate Mo Wagner. I think Crutwood can do work inside when he's on the floor. And those perimeter
What's the
guys.
last part of defense, though, Chuck Clark?
Rebounding.
It's rebounding.
That's right. That's
the last part, you can play great D. You don't rebound, you ain't playing D.
And neither one of these teams are overwhelming offensive rebounding teams.
Exactly.
But they do a good job on the defensive boards. I like the Ramblers to play on Monday night.
Are you buying what Clark Kellogg is selling, Coach?
I'm leaning Ramblers a little bit, too, because of their efficiency. And what has been so surprising to watch and neat to watch is they're way more physical than I would have thought. They are physical. They can switch stuff. They put bodies on people, and they're smart defensively. So I love their efficiency to get to Monday night.
You have an opportunity here now to just enjoy the rest of the evening and watch a couple of great basketball games. Thanks a lot for joining us. We appreciate it.
Great to be with you guys. Have a good day.
All right, thanks, Mike. Thank you. You're not going to punch Ernie in the face before you leave.
Take your best shot. Hey, Tom Brady on Twitter. This is what we got.
There he is.
On Instagram, ready to go tonight. Let's go blue. That's game one of our doubleheader. Michigan, Loyola, Chicago. Later, it's Villanova and Kansas.
The Final Four show is sponsored by Buick, proud partner of the NCAA. Google, official cloud of the NCAA. And by Wendy's, the official hamburger of the NCAA.
Sooner or later, David will be Goliath. Will it be tonight?
We know we have a hard job to do. We know we're focused.
Custer rises. Oh, he got it! And the dream is alive!
We know that we have to play hard.
Towns for three. Yes, sir! What a game!
I mean, we weren't picked to win our league. We've been underdog every game, and these guys believe.
The first ticket to the Final Four will be punched tonight. What a performance we are witnessing here. The Ramblers headed to San Antonio.
And that's where several of those Ramblers will try to add to their resumes, having already won high school state titles, and you see 7 of them now taking a look at winning the NCAA championship. By now, everybody knows about the legendary 1963 championship won by Loyola, which remains the only national title claimed by a school from the state of Illinois, and one of the first integrated teams to do so. But the most important matchup in that tournament of that year for the Ramblers and for the nation, maybe the one you haven't heard of, that second round matchup came to be known as the Game of Change. Loyola played Mississippi State in East Lansing, Michigan, and it was a game so obscure that no footage exists in the archives. From a basketball perspective, the win was a footnote in Loyola's march to a national title. But for those who were there, who played on that court, that game was a piece of history.
Think of it all the time. Sorry to believe it's been 55 years.
Maybe the best game of the tournament.
Win, lose, or draw, this is a great
The full weight of it wasn't felt until years later.
I don't think there's any doubt that it had an impact on integration in Mississippi.
The game of change. The Loyola Mississippi State game made a difference. It affected America. It was the game of my life. In 1963, Loyola won our first 21 games. We knew we were good, and we expected to win when we went out there.
Harkness goes up, drives the baseline, jumps from 6 out, and is up, rolling around, and good! Loyola scores!
I mean, everybody knew they had a great basketball team, but what the people in Mississippi focused on is they started 4 African Americans.
The general rule was that you could start 2 black players on the road. You can maybe start 3 at home, but you weren't ever supposed to play 4 black starters, and that's what Loyola did. We were right in the middle of a civil rights movement.
The government gave you a decision. What do you want to do? I'm not going to integrate.
It was a time of turbulence, and it was a time of tremendous change. There were black students at a lot of major universities, but there were no blacks in the South playing basketball at white schools. So over half the country was segregated.
Black and white relations in Mississippi was pretty much what they had been for 100 years or more.
I think the people of Mississippi all know that I am a strong believer in segregation in all of our schools.
Ross Barnett had been elected governor on the platform that he would maintain segregation at all costs. No white player in Mississippi would ever play against a team on which there were black players.
The 63 team was 24-1 in the regular season. But in 2 of the 3 previous seasons, Mississippi State won the Southeastern Conference Championship, and with that came a bid to the NCAA tournament. But both times, they had to turn it down. Because of the color of somebody's skin, you weren't allowed to compete with them. Just made you sick to your stomach, you know.
We wanted to play ball. I mean, that's what the game was all about. It had nothing to do with that skin color. We played basketball, and that's what we wanted to do with Loyola.
You want to know how good you are compared to other people, you know, and the only way to do that's play them.
In 1963, the team voted unanimously to go play. And Babe McCarthy, the coach, he wanted to go play because, by God, he thought he was going to win.
All of a sudden, the day before we're supposed to leave, we found out that we may not be able to go play, that we could possibly be arrested.
The legislature made an ultimatum. You will not go to play. We're going to force you legally not to play.
Governor Barnett was a staunch segregationist. And his injunction was supposed to be served on the president of Mississippi State, the athletic director, and the head basketball coach. They got word of it, and they disappeared.
We decided to split the team into 6. So if they were going to serve the injunction, they could only serve the injunction to one of the 2.
They sent the reserves and the managers on the first vehicle going to the airport. And that was in case they got stopped. And the starters and the main reserves were on a second bus, and when they got the all clear, the second bus followed.
Loyola players will tell you, they didn't know if Mississippi State was going to show up, but we knew that 6 of them were.
When we took the floor and they took the floor, you know, it was just unbelievable.
Of course, you don't win a championship for winning a second-round game. But deep down, I wanted to beat them really, really bad because, I don't know, I pictured them as bad guys because they were from Mississippi.
The handshake between the 2 team captains was totally unbelievable. It was a monumental thing to see an African-American and a white kid shake hands because of the adversity that I'm going to say that the state of Mississippi brought on themselves. I mean, it just ran chills up and down our spine.
It's known as a handshake. I went to the circle, and I went to shake his hand, and I smiled. He didn't smile, but you could tell that he was glad to be there. He wanted to be part of history. He wanted the opportunity to play against the best.
If you didn't know the backstory, if you didn't know that a Mississippi team had never competed against an integrated team, then the picture wouldn't seem that significant. But if you knew the backstory, it's just an incredible moment, not only in Mississippi history, but in American history.
We lost the game, but in a way we had won. You know, we lost the game, but we won. We won the battle.
Hunter shoots! South gets the score! It's over!
Well, Loyola turned out they were the best team in the country.
We won! We won! We won the ball game!
They won the national championship.
We won the ball game!
To lose to the national champions, that even was more special to us, if I could say it that way.
It was a big deal. Capital letters, B-I-G.
It was more than just a victory. It was a statement that the sport was changing and that blacks were the catalyst for that change.
We were right there in '63. But the fight for racial equality continues. That's why it still matters.
Jerry Harkness was the captain of that Loyola team and joins us now. What a pleasure it is to meet you, sir.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here.
So what was that handshake like pre-tip-off?
Well, I always tell you this. Number one, when I went to shake his hand, flashbulbs popped all over the place, just popping, and I couldn't understand that. And then I realized this was more than a game. This was history.
You called it the game of your life. Was it that at that moment, or was it that in retrospective for you as you look back at it?
As I look back at it, winning the national title was the first thing for a number of years. But as you get older and you can see what it's done to America, then without a doubt, it's the greatest game in my life.
Well, number one, I want to say thank you. I got a chance to talk to you back in the back. I just want to say thank you. And we don't ever talk about stuff like that enough. Yeah. That's the first time I've ever seen that or heard about that situation right there. And I'm glad to share it with you, number one. But what has this ride with this little Loyola team been for you this year?
Oh, wait a minute. You wait 33 years to get back to the dance, number one. Number two, 55 years before we played in the Final Four. So we've been waiting, and when it gets here, it feels a lot more better because it took so long. Oh, and to see these young guys, they're a good group of guys. They have so much respect for us. We went to watch them practice. They're asking us questions, and you can see a connection with us. And I said, by just looking at them, I said, these guys, they got something a little special.
You know what? As I watch the story, I see you here. You look great. I will say that. It reminds me that how great you look and where you are, that this is not 100 years ago. This isn't 200 years ago. These are our fathers and our grandfathers that have gone through this type of environment. So as America looks on and they look at these stories and look at you, they can say, well, they can understand the conversations that were different at the dinner tables of African-American and black people of today.
Right.
From their fathers and grandfathers who are you.
Yes.
And the perception and the perspective that you have about race relationships, how it affects our thought process of what is fair and what's unfair.
Wow.
So I think that you being here looking so great allows us to realize that this is not 200 years ago. This is in our lifetime. Without question.
Oh,
so thank
man.
you.
I could go home. Is it over? I mean, he set it up. My goodness.
Yeah, he laid it out, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. And another thing, Joe Dan Gold, the captain, and I got to be great friends because we found out we had more in common than we did out of common. And he passed away. And I went to the funeral, and the family saw me come and thanked me, and we hugged. And then I went over to the casket, and right next to the casket is the big handshake picture. I lost it. I lost it.
And conversely as well,
yeah.
The dinner tables of some of the people in Mississippi are different as well.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
We're honored to have you here today.
Oh, it's a pleasure to
Well
be
done,
here.
Mr. Harkness.
Oh,
Yes.
this is my man. You know
Yeah.
that.
You continue
I
to
don't wanna
represent
brag.
and be a role model for a lot of us, including me as a young guy coming to Indy to play for the Pacers. So appreciate you, love you, and thankful that you're part of history, living part of history, which is amazing.
And you'll be working this Final Four weekend as well, part of the team cast.
Oh, that's great.
For the Ramblers of Loyola Chicago with Jeff Hagedorn, Sham Charnia, and the Michigan team cast has Matt Park, Jay Feely, and Dr. Sanjay Gupta.
My favorite person, Dr. Gupta.
And Sister Jean.
I got to meet her, Ernie.
Did you really?
It was so cool, man. She was amazing.
Back with more here in San Antonio right after this. And that was Infiniti Hardwood Heroes. Short time ago, Tracy Wolfson, Michigan head coach John Beilein.
Coach, when you talk about this Loyola team, you said they're not a Cinderella. How would you describe them?
I think they're like many teams that you see that are very good in any conference anywhere. They really got just really good players at every position. They know how to play. When you have the challenge of everybody can shoot, everybody can pass, everybody cuts with good speed, and everybody plays defense. It's like the perfect formula. It's like this great chemistry that they have, and we like to think we have some of that too. So it's really it's going to be a great basketball game.
So for you, for your team, what do you need to see from them to be successful tonight?
We just have to buy into being persistent and guarding them. They will wear you out. It's not a Princeton type of offense, but in the shot clock, you better guard them for 31 seconds because they are capable of breaking you down right at the end, making an extra pass. They are just really good offensively. And then defensively, we just got to sustain that too. We have to cut hard. We have to get through the gaps really hard. They're just a really good defensive team. So both ends, it's going to be a challenge. But most teams right now at this time of the year, that's what they're all doing.
We wish you the best of luck. Thanks so much.
All right, thanks, Tracy.
Thanks, Coach, and thanks, Tracy. And now let's check in with the new Hall of Famer, Grant Hill, and Pizza Hut.
Hey guys, I'm at FanFest at the Pizza Hut Slam Dunk Space, feeding the madness, literally. I'm here showing off my skills and delivering pizza with my brand new Pod Tops 2. They let you order pizza, and this year, you can pause TV. You guys hungry? Yeah! No worries, I got this. Guys, I wish you were here.
All right, thank you very much, Grant. Nice pie tops, by the way, and they work. We got the pies.
Magically.
We make our way toward the tip. Game 1 of the national semifinals. Loyola Chicago taking on Michigan. Back with more here in San Antonio on TBS next.
Hey, man.
The Final Four teams arrived Wednesday at Sky Place FBO here in San Antonio. As the student athletes stepped off their plane, they made their way to a private hangar and Fiesta-style welcome committee to team buses that were led downtown by police escort and a custom team-branded Buick Cascada and Final Four branded Buick Regal GS. We welcome Loyola Chicago, Kansas, Michigan, and Villanova to the last leg of the road to San Antonio. And now, the road ends here.
To catch the Final Four games in VR, download the March Madness Live VR app powered by Intel True VR in the Oculus and Google Play Store now. And we have got the goggles in front.
Yes.
Chuck, have you looked inside your goggles?
I have not yet.
Take a look. What are you looking at, Chuck?
I see some words I can't see.
Oh, how about that? Those are some good-looking churros right there.
See, you're going to start him on this.
Come on, man.
Even more delicious in VR.
You're starting to get him on the churro rant.
Come on, man.
You know what that's going to lead to.
So I know you got a chance to meet Sister Jean. That
Ernie,
was nice,
it was so amazing. I spent about 10 minutes with her just saying hello, and she had a great group of people with her. It made my trip, man, to meet her.
She had an entourage. You said a great group.
She got an entourage.
Wow.
She's the team chaplain, and the last time they were in the Final Four, she was 43 years old, 98 years old now, and here she was speaking with the team moments ago.
We need him today, and we're going to ask him to help us and tell him that you're going to help too, both on and off the court. So I say, good luck, God bless, and go Ramblers.
The power of prayer from Sister Jean has been powerful into this run to the Final Four here in San Antonio. Tipping off in under a half hour, the Ramblers and the Wolverines here on TBS. Bleacher Report's original animated series Game of Zones is returning for the NBA playoffs. Watch Game of Zones only on the free Bleacher Report app. Got about a minute left here before we turn it over to the guys who will call the game here at the Alamo Dome. So, Clark, who you got, and can the winner of this game win the national championship?
I don't think there's any question about that. I've got the Ramblers. Michigan has been as dominant defensively as Villanova has been in this tournament, but the Ramblers have been highly efficient against excellent defensive teams all tournament long. I don't think that changes tonight.
Kenny.
I had Michigan all the way up until now, and I think that the Ramblers will move on. I think that their efficiency and their ability to rebound will be the difference.
I'm going with the Wolverines. I think they had their loss against Houston. They played great since then. Michigan, go blue.
That's it for the Final Four show. When we come back, Jim Nance takes it. We'll be back.